Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show where we show you how to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and this is 9th Age Battle Report number 2. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, with my Legion of the Hellmouth Ogre Khans army versus my buddy O-Death with this army called the Madness over Innistraad, which is a Warriors of the Dark Gods army list. So let's see what happens with 2,000 points of Ogre Khans with marks of the Dark Gods take on an army of the Dark Gods, basically. So yeah, a little bit of Dark God on Dark God action. So let's go over the lists. Alright, so let's talk about my 2,000 point army, the Legion of the Hellmouth. It is a 2,000 point Ogre Khans army. From our Lords and Heroes choices, we got Tai-Jin Khan, the Hellfist. He is a great Khan with the market change, the Hellfist big name, as well as Armor of Destiny, the Deathstone, and the Charm of Cursed Iron. After him, we have Crom Rottenjaw, the Balefire. He is my great shaman. Market change, level 4 upgrade, greater fire blessings, path of alchemy, Iron Fist, and the big name of Rottenjaw. Next comes Korgul Khan, the Spine Splitter. He is a Khan with the Battle Center Bear upgrade, Dragon Skin Banner, and the big name of Spine Splitter with the Mark of Wrath and Iron Fist. For my core choices, we have the Blight King, which is 7 tribesmen with a champion, musician, standard bearer with the Skull of Quinget, heavy armor, Iron Fist, and the marks of Pestilence. After them, we have the Wrathmongers, which are 6 bruisers with a champion, musician, standard bearer, and marks of Wrath. For my special choices, we have 4 bombardiers called Emulators, equipped with marks of change. And for my 2 rare choices, we have the Anvil of Hell, which is a thunder cannon with a mark of change, and the Hammer of the Gods, which is another thunder cannon with a mark of change, bringing my armor up to a total of 1,997 points. Alright, so let's talk about the Madness over Innistraad. It is a Warriors of the Dark Gods army. For my opponent's hero's choice, he has the Fallen Lord of Innistraad, who's a Demon Prince of Change, level 4 Master Wizard with a mark of change, plate armor, Path of the Fallen, third eye of change, Strokes of Strength, Lucky Shield, as well as a Dragonfire gem. After him, we have Occult Hellbrass the Wildling, who's an Arbinger of Chaos with a mark of change, Battle Center Bear upgrade, great weapon, Wildling Blood, as well as the Nine-Tailed Standard. After him, we have 2 core choices. We have the Storm Lords, which are 18 Wasteland Warriors with full command, marks of change, halberd, and a banner of speed. After that, we have 2 units of Warhounds, 5 apiece, the Beasts of Innistraad and the Hounds of Innistraad. After that, we have the Changelings, which are 20 Barbarians with full command, marks of change, and equipped with flails. After them, we have our special choices. We have the Nameless Ones, which are 3 Wasteland Trolls, the Second Sons, which are 10 Wasteland Knights with a mark of change, full command, and banner transmutation, and our grand total comes to 2,003 points.
Assemble the army!
Alright, so let's go and talk about deployment. As you can see, we're fighting on a 4x6 table. We got both our armies established on this table. Bottom half is me with my army, with my opponent basically 24 inches away from me up in the top there. So let's go into the individual deployment zones and talk about why the troops were deployed the way they were. Alright, here's my deployment. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, I deploy my entire army all at once, so that way I can make sure I go first for the next turn. As you can see on the left-hand side there, I got my Blight Kings with my Greater Shaman. Right in the center there, I have my Wrathmongers, which are my bruisers with both my BSB Khan, which is Korgul Khan, as well as my general, who is Tai-Jin Khan. And right in the center there, on the right-hand side, you got my 4 bombardiers, which are my emulators. And on the far right-hand side there, you can see I have both my thunder cannons, rather, which are the Anvil of Hell and the Hammer of the Gods. So those are my 2 thunder cannons located over there. Basically, I was just kind of going with this idea of basically hitting the flank and opening fire on troops and then sending my troops into the center. Basically, my opponent had the advantage because he could establish where he's going to set up his stuff right across from me. So that's pretty much my deployment for my entire army. Alright, so this is the deployment for the Warriors of Chaos. Sorry, not the Warriors of Chaos, the Warriors of the Dark Gods. On the left-hand side, you got the Wasteland Knights, which are the Second Sons. Next thing, we got the Changelings, which is those unit of 20 beastman-looking characters. They're supposed to be tribesmen there in the center. Right there, you can see in the center right there in the lines is his Fallen Lord of Innistraad, which is basically the Demon Prince of Change. And right next to some of their Storm Lords with his Harbinger BSB located in that unit there. So that makes the center as well as left flank for my opponent's army. Alright, this is my opponent's right flank. As you can see there, he has his 3 Nameless Ones, which are his 3 Chaos Trolls, kind of securing the right flank. And then before him, you got the Beasts and Hounds of Innistraad, which are being proxied by Goblin Wolf Riders in this case. And as you can see, that they kind of vanguard up 12 additional inches as well. So that makes a deployment for my enemy's army. Alright, so now we're at the top of turn number 1 after movement for the Ogre Khans because it deployed first. So basically here, I just kind of march everything forward as quick as I possibly can. I send my Blight Kings over the left-hand side, and on the other side of that forest in the middle. Same thing with my Wrathmongers and my General in the BSB to kind of occupy the forest. My idea is if I'm going to get charged for my opponent, and I eventually will be because he's a Where's the Dark Guard army, I want to be inside the forest. That way his lines are disrupted and he gets no during bonuses. So that's basically what I'm kind of pushing for on that side and sending him to the left to deal with the main body of his army. For my immolators, basically I just kind of have them move forward 6 inches. That way I can open fire onto those wasteland hounds, so they're not stopping me from hitting me from doing my shooting attacks. And then I scoot up my 2 thunder cannons there in order to open fire upon that main body of Chaos Warriors and deal with that. So yeah, that pretty much makes up the movement for this side of the board. And with that, we go on to the magic phase, which ends up being pretty epic for me. I unleash my Transmutation Gold spell upon that big block of the Skylords and manage to plink off about 5 of the warriors. I managed to kill the 5 of those guys as well, and gaining the stupidity roll for all my enemies within 12 inches of that. I'm not sure how well this is going to work out so well because they're within the leadership bubble of my opponent's general. But at the same time, I managed to kill his BSB, which is Ackled Hellblast Wildlings, which my opponent was really upset about because apparently he was using that BSB in order to motivate the trolls on the right-hand side, left-hand side, no, I'm sorry, our right-hand side of this photo, to make those guys march with the leadership bowl. Since his BSB is now popped, basically loses that ability as well, and it basically made his entire army move 1 inch lesser without the Nine Tails banner. So yeah, success for me on the magic. However, there is a flip side to it though. I did roll Irresistible Force, I'm sorry, not Irresistible Force, Overpowered on this, and basically it ended up kind of bad for me. As you can see, I rolled a miscast chart, but lucky for me, I got the small little 3-inch template and basically got straight 10 hits on that part, so kind of a small price to pay in order to get that spell off.
Klaatu, Miranda,
With that spell going off, I basically put a wound on my own Great Shaman, and I managed to put another wound on top of one of my Ogre Khans, one of my Tribesmen as well. So it wasn't so bad, 2 wounds to be able to kill his BSB. I'll take that challenge any day. And with magic being done, we move on to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, it basically went pretty bad for me. My immolators only managed to kill 2 of the Warhounds and one of the units of Warhounds when they opened fire on that one. So because of that, I did again my 2 Thunder Cannons to take out those Warhounds as well. My goal was originally to have 1 Thunder Cannon take out the additional remaining Warhound unit, and that 1 can open up the Demon Prince, but now that plan went to hell, so that didn't work out too well. So the Anvil of Hell basically opened up with a scatter shot onto the remaining 3 Warhounds that were left over and wiped out that unit, and then my other one, the Hammer of the Gods, wiped out the last remaining Warhound unit. So because of that, shooting was pretty much a wash for me. However, I had to take care of those Warhounds because if I didn't, I wasn't going to be able to shoot them the next turn anyway, so might as well take care of it now. So with shooting out of the way, without any combat taking place, we need to move on to my opponent's turn on the bottom of round number 1. Alright, so here's a picture of the bottom of turn 1 after moving for the Wars of the Dark Gods. As you can see, my opponent basically just marched up everything as quickly as he could. He didn't really, well actually, march up was actually the wrong term. He just moved everything to its maximum movement allowance without marching. And the reason why I think is because he knew he couldn't make the charge distance, but at the same time he wanted to be out of range for me not to be able to do a long bomb charge. So that way I couldn't get my impacting hits. So you can see he kind of basically moved everything forward. The stupidity roll didn't do any good. This was there in the leadership bubble of my opponent's demon, so because of that, not much happened there. So you can see on the left-hand side, he basically marched his second Sons over to get a wonderful flank charge into my army if I decided to charge next turn, which I'm not planning on doing. Basically moves up his Changeling Warriors as well as his Demon Prince as well as his Wasteland Warriors as well. And then his Trolls basically trundle up 6 inches forward because they failed their stupidity check. So that is the movement phase for this one. In the magic phase, my opponent was able to get off the Glittering Robe spell onto his unit of Warrior Chaos guys, so because, not Glittering Spells. Sorry, he got his, I forgot the name of the spell. The one that basically is like Glittering Robes from 8th edition. It basically gave his Warriors of the Dark Gods, his Wasteland Warriors, distracting ability, as well as -2 to hit with his hard target, and -1 armor piercing. So because of that, that unit's going to be really hard to shoot at for the next turn. And since he has no shooting and no one's in combat, that pretty much ends up my opponent's turn. We go to turn number 2 now. As you can see in this photo, turn 2 is largely uneventful for me, and this photo basically summarizes the entire movement, the entire turn. Basically, the only thing that moves up forward are my Thunder Cannons as well as my Immolators. Basically, I line them up. Magic phases the wash because I only managed to generate 3 power dice. My opponent was able to dispel both dice, dispel the transmutation of gold that I was trying to get off, so that went nowhere. And as for shooting was impossible. I tried to wipe out my opponent's Demon Prince with my Thunder Cannons, but both of those couldn't fire. One basically misfired when it finally made for the impacting roll, so that went nowhere. And the other with Thunder Cannon misfired, so they couldn't fire this turn, but he can fire the next turn, which is kind of helpful. And then my Emulators, when they try to open up on that unit of Warriors of Chaos, sorry, not Warriors of Chaos, Wasteland Warriors, basically didn't do any good. The hardcover save, as well as the -1 for armor piercing with the spell that they had, basically made that entire thing a wash. And since I didn't charge anybody, there was no combat. Basically, that summarizes up my turn, which is kind of a boring picture, but that's basically what happened. So with that, we move on to my opponent's turn. Alright, so this is the bottom of turn number 2 after move phase for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. As you can see there, basically everything just moved up as quickly as possible. On the left-hand side, my opponent basically marches his second sons and gets him set up for a wonderful flank charge that's going to the flank of my Tribesmen, my Blight Kings. His Changeling Barbarians charge into the front of my Blight Kings where my Great Shamans located, so they're now engaged in close combat. The Demon of Change, the Fallen Lord of Innistraad, as well as that big, huge brick of Wasteland Warriors, the Storm Lords, charge right into my unit of Bruisers, which is my Wrathmongers, so they're engaged with my Great Khan. And as for his Trolls basically failed their leadership chest again. They basically move up 6 inches, 1 inch away from my Immolators with my Bombardiers. So because of that now, everything is pretty much engaged in this situation. So yeah. Charges abound. With our charges out of the way, we go directly into the magic phase. Here's a close-up of the Changeling charging into my Blight Kings, and so that combat's going to be going down here a little bit, and I have to hurry up and wipe out that unit, because if I don't, those Second Son Wasteland Knights are going to charge into my flank and expel all kinds of badness from my army. And here's a close-up of the Storm Lords charging into my Bruisers, my Wrathmongers, as well as the Chaos Trolls coming in for the kills. So yeah, all kinds of combat goodness about to happen next in the couple next rounds coming up. In this battle, the magic phase, my opponent gets off his Shimmering Robes ability again and puts on his Demon Prince this time, so that way he has distracting hard targets to hit, as well as -1 for my armor piercing on my attack, so that's kind of rough. He also issues a challenge to my Great Khan, and my Great Khan answers the call to battle. So because of that, we move on to the close combat phase. And it was a smashing of the Titans on this one. It was pretty brutal. Basically, my opponent managed to inflict 3 wounds on top of me, but I also managed to inflict 4 wounds on top of him as well, and the reason why that was the case is because of divine attacks. My opponent took away basically my ability for my ward saves, and I took away his ward saves as well, so that's basically how I ended up doing it for the end. In the end, I technically won this combat because I inflicted 1 more wound than him, but because he's unbreakable, he wasn't going anywhere, and so because of that, that kind of stuck out for those 2 guys. So kind of rough though, because basically my opponent has 2 more wounds left on his Demon Prince. I only have like 2 more wounds on mine as well, so this is kind of rough on this part, so I'll have to basically look out for that one. So these Titans are still locked up in their death match. And oh my god, in this one, the combat between the Skylords and my Wrathmongers, that was not even a combat whatsoever. It was a slaughter. I managed to kill 12 of those guys, and they only managed to inflict, I think, 4 wounds on top. No, they managed to inflict 6 wounds onto my Wrathmonger, so one of my guys died as well. It was basically my Ogre Khan, Korgel Khan, and the rest of his unit with that +1 to hit bonus with those great weapons, just basically destroyed my opponent. They didn't have any magics, any ward saves for that unit, so the only thing I saved was no armor saves, but there ain't no armor for strength 6 attacks with great weapons, so I managed to wipe those guys out. I was kind of worried about my lower weapon skill against those guys, but that +1 to hit bonus that comes in from being a Mark of Wrath basically saved me on this one. So I killed 12 of those guys. They basically take the leadership test, they break, they run, I pursue, and I destroy that unit as well. So basically that Demon Prince is now fighting without support whatsoever, which is pretty awesome. And for the combat between the Changelings with my Tribesmen, the Blight Kings, was pretty rough. They managed to kill 3 of my Tribesmen, which is pretty sad, but I managed to obliterate that unit, basically. I sliced them down to a man. My Great Shaman managed to kill a handful of those Shamans, not Shamans, a handful of those Changelings. The rest of my Blight Kings basically did the same and destroyed them as well. I lost so many Ogre tribesmen because of those flails, man. Those flails are rough. Give you +2 to strength, also gives you +1 to hit as well, and there is no rule for them striking at 0 initiative in that age, so flails are deadly in this game. Basically, I have to look out for any army that's inflicted with flails because, man, flails are a beast, especially as they get to strike at the same initiative as my Ogre Khans do. But what really saved me and tipped the balance of my favor was my stomp attacks. The 5 stomps I had left basically was enough to push it over the edge for my opponent. Unable to defeat me, they break. I pursue, I overrun, destroy them. So because they're dead, I then do a quick combat reform and now turn to face to charge into that unit of Wasteland Knights as well. So yeah, feeling pretty good about that part. So with combat over with, we go directly into turn 3, which goes to yours truly. Alright, so this is top turn number 3 after move phase. As you can see in this picture, I basically send my Blight Kings charging into the front of those Wasteland Knights over on the left-hand side there. As you can see, I also charge my Immolators, which are my 4 Bombardiers, into the flank of the Demon Prince as well, so that way we can start putting some attacks on that guy as well. And then you can see on the right-hand side, my 2 Thunder Cannons charging to the Trolls as well. So that is movement for this one. So here's a close-up of my 4 tribesmen and my Great Shaman charging to the front of the Wasteland Knights, and looking at this photo, I think I might have made a tactical error on this part, but oh well, we're committed. Impact hits my tip the scales in my favor, so we'll see what happens in that combat. And here's a close-up of my Bombardiers charging the flank of the Demon Prince as well. So even if this Demon Prince does win combat, he ain't going to go anywhere because the rest of my Wrathmongers as well as my Immolators are going to finish this fool off. So that pretty much makes up the movement on this one. And here's a picture of my 2 Thunder Cannons charging to those Great Trolls, and I'm basically bringing the fire with flaming attacks as well as impact hits. So that should go pretty much in my favor as well. So yeah, that makes it the close-ups. This magic phase ended up being a pretty good one for me. I basically got 2 buffs onto my Great Khan. I basically gave him that +1 to hit and gave him magical attacks, +1 for AP as well, so that way he gets a little bit better chance of defeating this Demon Prince. I also managed to get the corrosive spell as well off on my opponent's magical armor for his Demon Prince as well, so he gave him -1 armor save. It's not much, but you know, every little bit helps, so that makes it magic on this side of the board. And transmutation of gold, it has to be like the best spell ever. I basically cast that onto this unit of Wasteland Knights and managed to wipe out 3 of those guys. So that was pretty epic as well. So all in all, pretty good magic phase. So with magic out of the way and there's no shooting, we go directly into the combat phase. And which ends up being pretty sad for my guy. In the end, the Fallen Lord of Innistraad managed to pull off the last 2 wounds left on my Great Khan and managed to kill him. So that was pretty sad for me. But, you know, what are you going to do? Divine attacks are a pain, especially when you got to reroll those successful ward saves for the both parties. Plus, he has a higher initiative than me, and it just ended up being bad for my Great Khan. But, you know, not so bad. Overall, I think I'm doing pretty good taking on my opponents, so I'm not going to complain too much. Besides, I got 2 more units here that could wipe out that Demon Prince if need be. So that's the combat with the challenge. And in this photo, my Immolators managed to finish off what was left of the Demon Prince, basically stomp attacks as well as close combat attacks. Put the last 2 wounds I needed to kill that guy, so that Demon Prince is now DRT. So that was pretty epic in my opinion as well. So moving on to the rest of the photos. And in this photo, flaming impact hits alone was able to wipe out those trolls. So those trolls were wiped out to the man without their regeneration save. It was pretty easy. So all that close combat is finished off with. So yeah, really good for those Thunder Cannons. Those Thunder Cannons are pretty beast. Close combat ended up being pretty much a wash for me on this one. I managed to kill 2 of the Wasteland Knights as well, even when I popped the poison attacks on my tribesmen, but I just kept on rolling like butt. I basically got a lot of 1s and 2s on that one, and because they have a higher weapon skill than me, wasn't able to do very much. The Wasteland Knights also didn't do very much either. They only managed to kill off 2 more wounds onto my finishing off one of my tribesmen, so that Blight King was basically dead, and managed to put another wound onto one of my shaman as well, so that was pretty uneventful with that one. Basically, I think I won. Yeah, I won this combat because of charging and battle center better, but basically they hold out because they got high leadership, so because of that, Wasteland Knights don't go anywhere. And with that, we basically move on to my opponent's turn. So we begin turn number 3 at the bottom of my enemy's opponent's turn, and basically when he looks at the board, realizes all he has left of those Wasteland Knights, he decides that this game is pretty much not going to go in his favor, so then he calls the end of the game right here. So as you can see on the battlefield, even it's kind of pretty much one side, a lot of ogres are still left over. Even though he managed to kill my Titan, my Great Shaman is still alive, same as the majority of my units as well. All he has left are 5 Chaos Knights, I'm sorry, not Chaos Knights, Wasteland Knights. So because of that, my opponent basically kind of surrenders at the end because he's the game. So with that, we basically move on to the after action report because this game is now over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle where we talk about what went well, what went bad, and what we can learn for the next time when we go into another battle. So this is my 9th Age battle report number 2. It was I, Commander CheapSkate, with my Legion of the Hellmouth Ogre Khans versus Death and Madness over Innistraad, which is his warriors of the Dark Gods army. And it ended up being a victory for yours truly. So let's talk about some of the factors that led to me winning this game. First of all, magic with transmutation of gold basically won me this game. It destroyed my enemy's battle standard bearer, basically took away his leadership abilities, and it also crippled his Wasteland Knights in the end when I basically had to go take on that flank charge. So basically that was a huge effort on this part. Transmutation of Gold is basically where it's at. Another thing that really helped me out in this battle is basically the Marks of Wrath and Pestilence. Having those two on my 2 core units is extremely important as well. Basically having that -1 to hit for my opponents, to hit me for my Pestilence guys, and give me a +1 bonus to strike back at my opponents is very important for my core units. And the reason why is because I have lower weapon skills, so basically that kind of helped balances me out a little bit. I might need to rethink the use of my Thunder Cannons after having them charge into those trolls and realizing the amount of damage those guys could do with impact hits as well as close combat attacks. I basically need to get those guys stuck in more into close combat and treat them more like tanks instead of artillery pieces. Most of the time I try to keep these guys back to open up at long range distances, but I'm realizing now that they're pretty good in close range combat as well as shooting, so I might as well get them stuck in as well. So I might have to rethink that tactic. Once again, high weapon skill of my enemies is still going to be a big factor. It's basically going to cause me a lot of problems later on, but with the Marks of Wrath and Pestilence, it kind of helps balance me out a little bit on that part. So, in the trade-off, however, my toughness and my strength is nothing to laugh at. My guys can weather blows from anything that's lesser than toughness. Then you at least need a strength of 5 if you want to gain a bonus over my dudes, which is really helpful as well. So, and plus when I strike back, it basically hurts a lot too. So, I'm pretty happy about that part. When it comes to my Great Khan, I might have to rethink him a little bit. Basically, I think I might have made him too defensive. I gave him ward saves, rerollable armor saves, heavy armor as well, and basically gave him a lot of stuff to kind of protect him from being hit at, but I didn't really give much to him to be able to strike back, so I might need to rethink his loadout a little bit so that way it kind of balances out about it. I was looking at Kaigadai's Maul, which basically gives him multiple wounds, which could be really helpful the next time I get a challenge with a multi-wound item opponent, just like that Demon Prince was. So yeah, once again, it was a great opponent. I'm still loving this game, having a lot of fun with the rules and making new armies as well. I'm just having fun doing these battle reports. So yeah, pretty much going to be probably doing 9th Age battle reports in the near future. I might go back to Age of Sigmar once in a while, but I think 9th Age for me is where it's at. So once again, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe to my channel. Basically, we upload every beginning of the week as well, every Monday or Tuesdays. Basically, I get these battle reports out. So yeah, enjoying all the comments, enjoying the back and forth as well as the critiques. So yeah, keep on bringing them my way, and I'll keep on making them for you guys. So that's going to round up for this one for battle report number 2. So yeah, see you later, guys. Bye.